man, what a week. And by the way, I fear that you thought that tonight, as I was losing my bleep, that everything was going sideways, as happened earlier this year. And that's not the situation. Legitimately, 100 little things today have gone terribly wrong, including some that kill me. The fact that I went to the supermarket and got pre-made salads that said $1 off at the register, they were already 2 for $5, whatever, and I didn't make sure the kid scanned them, and he didn't scan them.
Ugh.
Kills me. The fact that your dog ate that calzone
I
thing
ate a bunch of it.
kills me.
I ate a bunch of it, and then I threw it up 10 minutes ago. But so
it kills me. The little things kill me, and plus, it's just the house is trashed. It's been a hell of a week. We're
getting our son ready to go to camp.
Right,
Which means I have to obviously this is like little stuff, but this is how everything goes. It's like I went to log in. I know he's had his physical within the last year, so I go to log in to the portal online for his pediatrician's office so I can download his little immunization record and whatever. And they've changed their portal system, so I can no longer log in. So I spent an inordinate amount of time on the phone with him, giving them all of our children's dates of birth and information all over again. And now she has to have the pediatrician, who wasn't in today, go in tomorrow and upload the things into the new system so that I can have the form that I thought would just be there.
And then we still get the speeding ticket thing, which is...
There's 1,000 things. People don't want to listen to this.
I know. Well, I'm just saying, it's a holy rolling cluster F. And it has been since this morning when we did our first All You Can Eat podcast. It's already...
right.
And I'm not saying this to guys to say we're exceptionally or exclusively really busy, because I know that you guys are too. And I'm just saying that, holy Jesus. And now we're having more kids, which is just...
it's perfect. We're really blessed.
Heart attack
though,
can't come
actually.
soon enough. But it's just one of those things. Okay, so that's what I wanted to get that out of the way. Do I want to go right into stuff? Okay, let's start.
I think we should go right into stuff.
Okay,
there was a surprise new Tucker episode tonight.
I watched the whole thing. You see?
I watched the whole thing too.
It was good. Biden's a dictator.
Was good.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
He spent 12 minutes tongue-in-cheek saying Biden wasn't a dictator. Biden's a dictator. I should have probably hit mute on my end too here, because it's just a distant cough.
Distant coughs. Yeah, it was very funny. I like Tucker getting to stretch his legs and be kind of a humorist, which is really where his heart lies, I think. I think it could have been done more effectively if his production was a little better, because some of the stuff, I could see where he was going a bit, where he's saying, I don't know, you guys should go watch it, obviously.
I disagree with you about the production.
Well, I thought some of the things, I don't know, I could see where he was going with, the Ashley Babbitt thing right away, when he was saying, people would be allowed to, if he were a dictator, people wouldn't be allowed to protest, and they would be getting arrested by the feds years later for a peaceful protest against him taking power, right? And, I can tell that he's going to do the January 6th stuff, but I think it would have been effective with the Fox level of production, where you have, he could be, split screen with a picture of the January 6th protest and, videos of people being arrested for that.
I totally think you're missing the point. I think the pared down version is exactly what he wants and exactly what Musk wants. He doesn't want to look like TV.
Well, Musk doesn't have any say in anything.
Tucker's giving a visual fireside chat. That's what he's doing.
Right.
And so I think that's huge. I think
him having to go in and having to explain, just ask Ashley Babbitt. I felt like there was a little more exposition than would strictly have been necessary if you'd have had the visual. But it is interesting, and I think it's interesting you said, what Musk wants. So, this is a funny question. I don't think Musk has any say in what Tucker does, because they have no arrangement other than, however people make money on Twitter.
Right, but I think Musk wants people without multi-million-dollar studios to be able to do shows and feel comfortable doing it.
Well, I think he wants both. I think he wants anyone to be able to do it both with a multi-million-dollar studio and not.
Yeah, but most people aren't going to have multi-million-dollar studios, and he wants everybody to have a show just on his.
Yeah, but he also wants the pros on there doing, like, quote-unquote real shows, right? But here's where we get to kind of the point, because what was interesting about this, his lead into this whole thing was the Fox Chiron that you and I talked about offline a bit and has been in the news, but I don't think we talked about explicitly on the show.
No, kind of a throwaway item, but let's play a little bit of Tucker.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. On Tuesday afternoon, the Biden administration had Donald Trump arrested. It was a pretty big news story. You may have seen it. Just before 9 p.m. that night, as part of its coverage, Fox News ran 2 live video feeds next to one another. On the right, Donald Trump addressed his supporters in New Jersey. On the left, Joe Biden spoke at an event for the Secretary General of NATO in Washington. Beneath those videos at the bottom of the screen, Fox's banner read this way, quote, "Wannabe dictator speaks at the White House after having his political rival arrested." Those words are up for less than 30 seconds, but the effect was immediate. Inside Fox, the women who run the network panicked. First, they scolded the producer who put the banner on the screen. Less than 24 hours after that, he resigned.
Something worth noting is that Chiron went up at 8:59. So that's a Chiron going up, a rebellious flare going up during Tucker's show.
Mm-hmm.
That's his time slot.
Yeah. And it, like he says on here, it was up for a very short time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and he gets into it here where he talks about, he's
play a little more.
Resigned. He'd been at Fox for more than a decade. He was considered one of the most capable people in the building. He offered to stay for the customary 2 weeks, but Fox told him to clear out his desk and leave immediately. Then the company issued a public apology for the 27-second-long wannabe dictator line. Quote, "The Chiron was taken down immediately," Fox's PR department said, and then added ominously it was, quote, "addressed."
You know why he was told to take his stuff and leave immediately?
Why?
Because I'm going to wager that he has got a gig already at Tucker Carlson Productions.
Yeah,
in
probably.
Maine, USA.
I'm going to also wager that he potentially had a bunch of employee emails about Fox News Corp's DEI initiatives.
I think that is accurate. And we'll get to that in a second.
But
that was all true. But it was not enough to save Fox News from the ensuing scandal. For a time in the rest of the media, Fox's assessment of Donald Trump's arrest seemed to overshadow Trump's arrest itself. Suggesting that Biden is a dictator, declared the Washington Post, quote, "crossed the line." Alexander Vindman agreed strongly. Vindman is the perennial MSNBC guest and full-time Ukraine promoter you may remember from Russiagate. On Twitter, he demanded that the Pentagon pull Fox News from all military bases. It is, quote, "absolutely unacceptable for American Forces Network to carry programming that directly, spuriously, attacks the Commander-in-Chief of American Armed Forces," Vindman wrote. In other words, Joe Biden must ban all criticism of himself because that's what non-dictators do.
So it goes on from there.
Yeah. And then he does it's all he's not a dictator because, right. And then giving examples of things that Biden has obviously done. It's kind of a bit. It's,
yes,
obviously. But I did think it was interesting that his entry point to all this was the Fox News Chiron, and specifically criticizing how Fox News handled it, saying the women who run Fox News, and, essentially calling them wimps for, immediately firing people and, handling the situation. I think that... And what has sort of been under the surface here with Tucker for a while is that Fox News is at legal war with him right now.
Yes.
Because their position is that he is still under contract. They are supposedly still paying him. And their position is that while he is under contract, he is not allowed to do a show for anybody else.
Right. He's got a non-compete. He's exclusively theirs to the end of his contract.
Right. However, Tucker's position and his lawyer's position and Elon Musk's position and what they're going to argue in court, because Fox is going to take this to court because Tucker's big enough that it's worth it to try and punish him for this, is that recording yourself in a video on Twitter talking about things that are in the news is not working for a competing news company. That he doesn't work for Twitter. He's not employed by Elon Musk. He's not producing a show for Elon Musk. And he has free speech like anybody else in the country does to go onto Twitter and say what he thinks about what's in the news. And that's going to be, I mean, and as far as I know, nobody has seen this contract, actually. It's all just like reportedly about the contract. So a lot will depend on the details of the contract. You know, how much Fox News has in the contract control over his like social media presence. But clearly, like, Tucker has obviously built into that contract because he's still using it. He has control over TuckerCarlson.com. He clearly has control, at least, over his social media handles.
Right.
The Tucker Carlson social media handle hasn't become the Fox News Tonight social media handle. So he clearly has some ownership and control over that still. It's going to be interesting to see what can happen, because I've seen a lot of lawyers apparently saying that Fox News is in a really good position. If they're paying him, they can continue to pay him out of their out of the contract and keep him from saying anything until 2025. I think that's a really interesting free speech issue. To say that you're not allowed now to go online and talk about the news in a general sense. Like, he didn't go get an MSNBC gig. He didn't even get a Daily Wire gig. He's just on Twitter with a video camera talking. How is that? How can that be like not allowed by your It's an interesting situation, in my opinion.
If he were a cartoonist and he leaves the paper, he's not allowed to just continue being a cartoonist and put them on or hand them out for free. The feeling is that they feel that Tucker's content is proprietary to them and that he can't distribute anymore. I mean, that's what I would think they would say. And that he was exclusive to them. And so now he's still under contract and distributing. And it's Tucker monologue content. It's Fox News kind of content.
Is it, though?
Well, it's a little more dangerous. He wasn't calling Lindsey Graham gay on Fox.
But, I mean, I don't know if it is in a lot of ways. If you have like I don't know how cartoonist contracts are structured. I think generally cartoonists are probably paid per item nowadays, I would think. But I think it's a tough thing to say that you can't go talk on Twitter.
But it is a show production. He's
on his own property in his yard, in a shed. Like,
I'm just, obviously I'm on Tucker's side and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they could say that people pay for Tucker's. They paid for exclusive rights to Tucker's political dialogue.
Right.
And that's what's going out there, and he's competing with them now. Because people subscribed, opted into Fox News for Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
But they're not. Yeah, but you can't get any Tucker content at Fox anymore.
Right, but Fox bought the right to say if they can't get you here, they can get you nowhere. I think where the loophole may be is that Twitter's not in direct.
It's not, and Tucker doesn't work for them.
Right, but they're not in direct competition with Fox. It's not like this is CNN.
Right.
This is the free digital platform.
Yeah, it's also not Facebook. It's also not even, like, he's not even on the radio or on, he didn't ink a deal like Steven Crowder did with Rumble. And I think they're relying on that to say, like, look, I'm not working for a network. I'm just on Twitter like I was. This is me. And I think it plays into that he's calling the show, or whatever we're calling it, Tucker on Twitter. Like, his position, essentially, legally, is to say, it's just literally me being on Twitter. Right?
Yeah, no doubt about that. But at the same time, he's on Twitter doing Tucker Carlson.
I mean, but doing
he's
Tucker
not doing
Carlson,
fly fishing.
Doing Tucker Carlson is him stating his political opinion, which is like, that's like the most protected speech of the First Amendment. Right? And companies have a notoriously hard time in the courts actually enforcing a lot of these types of clauses, like non-disclosures, non-competes, non-disparagement clauses and stuff. They're very difficult to enforce because people do actually like have freedom of speech.
So if J.K. Rowling, under contract from her publisher for 2 more books, just recites a book on Twitter, is that okay? Because that's what she does. She comes up with stories. Should we get to the other Fox News situation?
Sure.
And since this is guttural, I'll let you do it.
Okay, so as I alluded
you
to...
know what it is about you right now that makes you so likable?
What? That I'm suffering?
No. It's that because you've just been through so much suffering. Because I could hear you, 45 minutes ago, just hurling your head off. And now I think you're so battered by it that you're at a certain plane of peace. It's very likable.
Okay. I'm glad it's likable. Okay, so Matt Walsh this evening has a breaking news story. He has obtained from Fox News employees the documents of Fox Corp celebrating Pride by encouraging employees to read books about glory holes, supporting a group that gives sterilizing hormones to homeless youth, and they have deployed woke AI to monitor their employees. So this is why I mentioned earlier, I think maybe Fox should look around at people they've recently forced to resign for stupid reasons and see if there's anything they can come up with that might be a security risk here. So Matt Walsh says the documents we're about to show you were produced by Fox Corp, the parent company of Fox News. They are presented to Fox News employees when they log into their employee portal. Under the heading Support One Another, Fox encourages employees to donate to the Trevor Project, the LA LGBT
Trevor
Center.
Project, among other things. It's the big trans thing that everybody cites really without any credence that 1 in 3 trans kids is going to kill himself unless you let them do anything they want.
They also have a sexually explicit chat room that connects children as young as 13 years old with LGBT adults.
Oh, the kiddos get to talk to the adults there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The Ali Forney Center, which they praise for rescuing homeless LGBT youth, admits on Twitter and its website that it gives homeless young people cross-sex hormones. The LA LGBT Center, which Fox calls Unstoppable, has posted a video of a mother surprising her trans daughter with their first dose of hormones. YouTube removed the footage for terms of service violations, but a screenshot's still on Twitter. If you scroll down in the Fox employee portal, employees are encouraged to expand their perspective by reading books by trans activists, including a memoir titled Fairest about a precocious boy who would grow up to become a woman. Contains information that's important for Fox employees, like an early scene explaining what a glory hole is. The Fox endorsed book also details the author's graphic description of having something in his mouth. Another book that Fox leadership encourages its employees to read, Red, White, and Royal Blue, is about a fictional gay relationship between the Prince of Wales and the president's son.
Very
it
niche.
Contains dialogue calling America a genocidal empire. The book, which Fox suggests will expand your perspective, also quickly devolves into gay erotica. Fox leadership doesn't just put out books for the employees. They suggest a pride rainbow-filled kids book with a character who comes out as a unicorn, presumably symbolizing coming out as gay or trans. Recommends their employees listen to podcasts like Query and watch various TED Talks about LGBT life. Elsewhere on the portal, workers are encouraged to attend a Ben & Jerry's powered Pride event at the New York headquarters of Fox News.
Oh, nice.
Not all Fox employees are happy about it. Fox experimented with a solution to monitor employees' commitment to DEI. It's an AI platform called Escalera, which tracks employees' commitment. Fox leadership told employees to sign up for Escalera so the AI could help them engage in activities that will deepen their understanding of identity and explore more nuanced DEI concepts.
Oh, my goodness. It reminds me of Intercom when I worked there about 20 years ago. For WRKO, one of the managers, through a vendor, got this program where you could check in every 10 minutes to input what you were doing to help them better create efficiencies for you, but really was to
see how much you're working or not working. Yeah,
exactly. And
a lot of companies do this now, and a lot of companies, one reason a lot of companies are trying to push people to go back to the office is they've invested a lot in cameras in their office so they can see what you're doing while you're there. And a lot of them track how you're spending your time on your computer, if you have idle time, if you're really doing stuff,
you
things
mean
like that.
From behind the VPN? The company's VPN.
Yeah. The company can do that stuff on your computer, your company computer, even remotely, and actually on your phone as well. If you install the Microsoft Teams and Outlook and all that stuff on your phone, then which in this day and age you basically have to do because people are looking for you. I don't know, it sucks.
It's the worst thing. Slack and
but listen to this. Escalera says this is the app that Fox News is having its employees download. Escalera pulls in data from various sources, including the email and payroll systems, and generates a peer comfort index and diversity index based on how often the employee practices micro-affirmations. So it looks at your email, sees how often you micro-affirm your coworkers, and then gives you a score of how kind and diverse you are or whatever. One of Escalera's key functions is to influence decisions involving personnel. They can calculate an attrition cost that different divisions could suffer if they fail to promote DEI. And Matt Walsh goes on here talking about he's found some Fox News employees on social media that are very, all for the DEI stuff and essentially hate Fox News, hate Trump, all that stuff, right? So the point being that Fox is essentially enemy territory. I do not think that it's a coincidence that he came out with this story the same night that Tucker came out with this surprise episode where he slams Fox also.
No. Same here, but the only thing is that who's going to pick this story up if not Fox?
Daily Wire.
Yeah, definitely.
Tucker Carlson.
Yep. No, absolutely. But not Fox.
No.
The only thing is, but it does put a weird pressure on Hannity.
Hannity doesn't care.
Well, I know, but it puts a pressure on.
He's 100 years old.
I would think that I guarantee you that if they haven't done the show, well, they've already done it now. But I guarantee you that Gutfeld says something meta about this.
Yeah. He said meta things about Tucker a little bit. I also think Gutfeld is probably not long for Fox News.
No.
He's too much of a wild card for them a little bit.
And he's got a hit night show.
Right. And, he does comedy tours and stuff. He's doing his own thing mostly. And he doesn't toe the line like people do there. So I don't know. I mean, interesting to see. I I think it was last year, maybe even the year before during Pride Month, Fox did that. Do you remember? It was like on one of the earlier in the day shows, but I think maybe Dana Perino was on it, and they did like a celebrating Pride thing where they showed the story of the trans family, the family with the trans kid.
I know we played it last year, but didn't we play it a couple weeks ago?
I don't think so. Not on here. I
must have done it on my other show.
But yeah, like I think the writing has been on the wall with Fox for a while, just because they are a big corporation and they're doing their thing and they don't want trouble. And you know, and like any big corporation where you have an HR department and marketing departments and you hire a lot of people with college degrees, you're going to be like overrun by these crazy people in short order, like the longer you go on like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to find that.
And like, you just wonder how much do the hosts even like, how much do all the hosts like really believe all the stuff they say or not? Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
I mean, I think some of them, like, I think Gutfeld's a pretty independent thinker. Obviously, Tucker was. But I don't think that all the hosts are necessarily like super ideologically conservative. Not the way like people at the Daily Wire are. Not like Candace Owens or Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro.
Well, no, because a lot of these people just get better jobs coming from NBC
yeah,
or CBS or
they're just
whatever.
News anchors who are fitting in with the corporate culture, and the corporate culture at Fox is like to kind of be what, you know, your dad thinks right wing is, but they're not like ideological people generally, most of the hosts and stuff, I don't think.
Right.
With a few exceptions, obviously, but I don't think, I think people have a misconception that everybody in the building is this like crazy right winger, and I just don't think that's anywhere close to true.
Oh no, of course not. It's Manhattan. It's, you know, yeah, no way.
You know, and it's probably even less so now, like, no Roger Ailes, right? And like,
during this Pride Month, KTVU has been highlighting. If you saw me walking down the street,
this is the same on Fox News, right?
Think anything
this
different.
was like what, last year?
14-year-old Rylan Whittington is a typical Southern California teenager.
Kevin Cork.
And the Whittingtons, along with Mom Hillary, Dad Jeff, and Sister Brinley, are a typical family. The only difference, though, in Rylan's eyes, is what this family can mean to the tens of thousands of kids under 18 who identify as transgender.
We put our story out there so people could see that like there's another family out there that is going through what we're going through, or there's another family who's proud of who they are.
Before Rylan could even speak, he managed to tell his parents that he is a boy.
I could just see that
Before
it
he
wasn't
could
him
even
trying to
speak.
be a brat. It was like painful. It was truly painful for him to have to wear feminine clothing and for us constantly telling him that you're a girl.
And unlike some trans kids, when Rylan came out at age 5 a few years later,
He what? What happened? He what at age 5?
Came out at 5 a few years later.
Okay.
he had the full support of his parents.
Initially, there was some pushback from us in trying to understand this.
We were confused like most people are. We thought that gender and sexuality were the same thing. It took us a while to figure out that those two things.
Okay. Well, check back
And then
in with...
our 5-year-old educated us about the gender-bending unicorn, and we learned that everything that all of humanity has known for tens of thousands of years is just a dumb, ignorant mistake. Thank goodness.
Now we use the Glory Hole app. Okay, so that's... all right. Okay, can I get to something else?
Sure.
All right, we've been talking about, and I did discuss this this morning, talking about, we talked about the story in Hartford of the mural that says, it's really just, it's a painting on a road that says Black Lives Matter.
Uh-huh.
So what happened was, since Juneteenth is coming, and that's the highest
It's
holiday of Black Lives
Matter Day. Yeah.
Right. That they wanted to make sure that the mural says Black Lives Matter is redone and beautiful. So what they did is repave the road, invite local artists in from the community to paint Black Lives Matter again on this road, which now they've blocked off, so it can't be used.
By the way,
a
are
friend of mine
roads
who's a
the best?
firefighter mentions, has been closed down now, so emergency vehicles can't get through there. But so the road's been blocked off, and it says Black Lives Matter. What was your question?
I was just gonna ask if the general question: are roads really the best place for holy murals for your religious movement?
Black Lives Matter, Alice.
Okay, well, maybe walls.
Black Lives.
Traditionally,
no, Black Lives Matter.
I'm
it's
pretty
it's
sure.
a definitive statement. There's no use to try to limit it. It's like LGBTQIA plus.
Yeah.
Okay, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, I'm not incorrect here. The word mural comes from the Latin word murus, which means wall, because that's a good place to have it because people don't walk on it,
Black Lives Matter.
drive on it.
You don't seem to understand.
Step on it with their feet.
Right. So here's the thing. So
there was one more, I forgot what it was, but all these like Christians got captured by, I don't know, someone bad, like Turks or whatever. And they were all asked to like step on the cross to be able to like enter the city, and a bunch of them were martyred because they wouldn't do it. It seems like so backwards to me. And I know in like Near Eastern culture, feet in particular are seen as like profaning, but like
Did you not hear about George Floyd, Alice?
Okay, but I'm just wondering because it just seems odd to me to
minutes.
put your like religious mural
8
on
minutes.
the ground where people walk and drive. Like it seems like an odd choice to
do the
start
words
with.
Stand up, don't shoot, not mean anything to you? Hands up, don't shoot.
Hands up, don't shoot. Yes.
So anyway, so they brought the artists back in because it's Juneteenth is coming, so they got a newly paved road, and so there's some dude late at night. There was video that came out today showing 3 people walking towards the crime scene.
Yeah.
Some dude drew a swastika in some racist language, like 8-8, Heil Hitler, whatever. Now, the original video that came out had only showed the guy. The other 2 people were obscured. Those other 2 people have now been identified. They're brown people.
Thank goodness. Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Right. But thankfully, the guy with the spray paint we think was a white person, so we're good. So anyway, so he did his little thing, and with the writing on swastika, and of course now the media is all in, and you and I heard this morning. And I made this my show today. Just the distance the media goes to it's really brainwashing and conditioning people to listen, because they use these stories, these news stories, and say factual things, the stories like journalists would do, what, who, where, how, when, but then they slip in the spiritual prose.
Right.
But right in between the conveyor belt full of facts on the ground, so that it also gets laundered through as an absolute just true thing, just a true thing. And I've got a couple of examples. These are all three Hartford reporters. This will be part of my stock and trade going forward, by the way.
Okay.
Here's Brittany Schaefer of News 8. Listen to what she says.
Now, a team of artists immediately painted over this mural, removing the act of hate, and actually transformed it into love with a heart.
Oh, they transformed the act of hate into love.
That's remarkable. Before that, she had said 3 suspects were suspected. Police were looking at it. It was done at approximately 8:54 p.m. Witnesses saw something. And then this factual statement.
Now, a team of artists immediately painted over this mural, removing the act of hate, and actually transformed it into love with a heart.
Wow.
They transferred the hate, which is not necessarily a journalistic word. They transferred it into love.
Yeah.
Not trying to editorialize here. Just the facts. Just the facts. Brittany Schaefer, live from Hartford. A group of artists transferred, just so you know, just so you're straight, everybody out there, that what was there was hate.
Yep.
What there's now is love.
It's been transformed.
It's been transformed.
Transfigured,
and I am
if you
Brittany
will.
Schaefer, reporter So I've seen this with my eyes. This is not speculation. This is not me editorializing. This is not my opinion whatsoever. Just as factual as everything else I've said is they've transformed hate to love.
Mm-hmm.
They just have.
Okay.
Next is Rob Polanski from Channel 3.
Okay. Ready for Rob?
He recently got a promotion. His is just an offhand comment. This is fantastic.
Hartford police have arrested a man who they say defaced the city's Black Lives Matter mural.
Can you imagine? This man now faces...
What?
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine? He just finished a story about a murder. That doesn't get it. Can you imagine? This gets it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine all my years in journalism defacing a mural, a street mural?
Oh, but people on the left actually think that defacing a Black Lives Matter mural is
Alice,
actually like
this guy's
worse
reported
than
in
murder.
548
Certainly worse than
cadavers,
carjackings or
36
drug dealing.
dead kids, 106,000 rapes. None of those got a. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Well, you can't imagine. Yeah,
I can imagine. I can imagine graffiti. In fact, people do it everywhere. I can even imagine racist graffiti also been done.
That's right. But for him to have to add that in there, just so you know. In other words, this gets a special.
Have they ever looked under a middle school desk? Because I bet they can find stuff just as bad written there.
You figure in a city that's now spiking in murders and rapes, all of the sexual assaults, none of those get it. Can you imagine? Nope.
Nope.
No.
Carjackings, nope.
No. The guy gets attacked by a guy with a sawzall for trying to save his catalytic converter. Nope. No, can you imagine? Only when it comes to somebody some insane person who's homeless, by the way. They've arrested all these people.
Is it a homeless person?
Yes.
This reminds me of when
Can you imagine?
they found that homeless derelict person who used a pride flag to relieve himself.
Oh yes.
And it was just some black homeless dude in New York, and he's charged with hate crimes.
You said black?
Yeah.
That does not get it.
I think during Pride Month we haven't quite entered Juneteenth season yet, honey.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Hartford police have arrested a man who they say defaced the city's Black Lives Matter mural.
Can you imagine? This man now...
I hate to editorialize, Lisa, but I just have to speak up. Can you imagine? No, I hear you, Don. I'm going to say what I'm going to say here. I'm taking my stand. Can you imagine? Holy God.
The mural, which first debuted in 2020, was in the process of being reimagined and repainted.
Sorry, Matt Austin of NBC Connecticut. Is reimagined a journalism word? It's being reimagined. That means, in other words, something pixie dusty is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Something good.
Magical.
Just the same way they changed hate to love.
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody put hate on the love. Can you imagine? This is how they do it, though. And a lot of them probably are just so scared, but this is how you wrap editorializing into news. They're reimagining.
Right.
There's no such thing as reimagining. And shut up. There's no such thing as reimagining.
Yeah, it's paint on the street, you guys.
Right.
It's really not.
By the way, and I was listening to some Patrice Cullors today, talking about the Marxist origins of Black Lives Matter. I have a question for you, Alice.
Okay.
If you've got a movement inspired by Marxism, so we can say communism.
Mm-hmm. We'll call it that, sure.
That's on the floor mural, ground mural.
Mm-hmm.
And you overlay on top of that a symbol of Nazism.
Mm-hmm.
Which ones cost more lives? Communism or Nazism?
Probably communism wins out on that one. With all the great leaps forward and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. It's about 100 million human lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not downplaying the Nazis.
Yeah, I think if you count all World War II deaths, if you give them all those, it's 60 million or something by some estimates.
Well, sure. But, so...
But yeah, communism easily has 100 million.
Right. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to say that putting the swastika on the Black Lives Matter mural earns a Can You Imagine, the other way around also earns a Can You Imagine.
Oh, yeah.
If we're going to be celebrating these things with origins that are dark and deadly and historically, we're all into history now, right?
Oh, yeah. So much context.
Right. Well, it's not a good street.
Right.
I'll just say that. All right, should we get to the Chelsea?
I have a couple more items that I want to bring up. One is that speaking of crimes that are okay and not okay in New York City now, there's another guy who's now been arrested for killing someone on the subway in New York.
Mm-hmm.
This is reported by the New York Post. This guy, this guy who's been arrested happens to be a gentleman of color, actually. But an ex-con was harassing people on a Brooklyn subway, and he punched this man's girlfriend in the face. They started fighting, and he stabbed him, and he died. And he is now being charged with manslaughter and criminal possession of a weapon.
The guy whose girlfriend got punched in the face?
Yes. And then got into the fight with the guy. So he's now being arrested, and he has a, the guy who punched the woman has a criminal record and everything, like most people do who punch random people on the subway. Like,
right.
They just shouldn't even be there to start with. But a strap hanger was stabbed to death on a Brooklyn train. He was an ex-con who'd been harassing a couple on board, punched the woman before her boyfriend knifed him in the chest, police sources said Wednesday. DeVictor, I have no idea how to say this last name, Udrago, 36, was hassling other commuters on board a northbound J train approaching Marcy Avenue in Williamsburg when he started arguing with Jordan Williams and his gal pal, sources say. During the clash, Udrago of Bedford-Stuyvesant socked the woman in the face, sources say. Then they tussled on the train and had each other in headlocks at one point before the younger man allegedly pulled a knife and stabbed the other twice. The wounded man stumbled out of the train and onto the platform. Officers responded to a 911 call about the stabbing. He was taken to a hospital and pronounced dead. The couple stayed on the train but were tracked down by police at the Chauncey Street station. Williams of Hollis, Queens, was charged late Wednesday with manslaughter and criminal possession of a weapon. The woman was initially in custody as a person of interest but was released. The couple did not know the man prior to the clash. Cops are reviewing cell phone footage from the scuffle. The ex-con, the guy, did time in state prison in 2009 for a robbery in Queens.
Right.
He was sentenced to 3.5 years, paroled in 2012 to immigration. It wasn't immediately clear whether he was deported or where he was from originally. And they're essentially saying that this man, Jordan Williams' attorney, is saying that he shouldn't even have been charged. The man punched his girlfriend, was threatening passengers,
right,
etc.
Let me ask you something else. You take the subway in New York, are you not bringing a weapon?
I mean, it seems like the thing. Although, I mean, like, you're in a bind. I guess the answer is just apparently don't take the subway in New York, because you either have to put up with people freaking punching you and your loved ones, or if you bring the means and defend yourself, then you are going to go to jail. Like, I don't, like, what's the good option here? Because every one of these videos that you see where there's some, like, crazy, insane, drugged out homeless person harassing people on a train, everyone's always like, why doesn't anyone do anything? You couldn't talk to my girlfriend like that. I'd do so. Well, like, congratulations. Then you're going to leave the train in handcuffs. Because that's apparently, like, what the thing, like, do you remember when New York charged the shopkeeper who,
yep,
but did he shoot a guy or knife him or what? I forgot, but who was armed robbing him at the time. Like, it's just incredible. Like, New York has decided that, like, actual criminality is totally fine, but, like, doing something about it, that gets you punished.
That's right.
Which is really why, and it's, like, a systematic thing, you know? I do think it's interesting they did it to a black man also. Like, nobody's safe from this.
No.
Like, it doesn't matter. You can be the right skin color or the wrong skin color or whatever. Like, you're not allowed to defend yourself from insane criminals just taking over the subway. So that's one thing. And then I wanted to bring you a happy story because I know
nice.
you'll like this. And this woman locked her account, but fortunately I thought ahead and screenshotted these tweets because the happy news is that people are going to have to start making their student loan payments again soon.
Yes.
And this woman, Molly McGee, tweeted out her student loan payment once forbearance ends.
Before you go any further,
okay,
what does Tom Shattuck feel about Molly McGee?
She's not hot.
Oh, no? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you.
So she tweets out her little student loan statement. Your estimated monthly payment after forbearance ends is going to be $1,298.83. And she tweets, student loan repayment is more than my rent and due starting in October. At POTUS, how do you expect Americans to pay this? Well, I have news for you, Molly, which is that Americans are going to be paying it either way because Americans are already paying the college that amount. The question is, which Americans have to pay it? You, who got the college degrees from it, or the rest of us who don't have a college degree from it? Well, how do you expect Americans to pay this? Student loans and their interests are a class tax on people with working class heritage. It is antithetical to the American dream. I like working class heritage too, because she's a white woman, so I think that she, on the privilege scale, isn't really like winning. And
right. Okay, that means that she's Irish.
But she has working class heritage.
Right. Oh, that's good. I like that.
She has working class heritage, and then she tweeted a short time after that, God, I'm starting to think that being poor is something that happens to you at birth and you can never escape it. I teach at an Ivy. I'm a New York Times best-selling editor. I have a novel coming out, and I'm still so effing poor, it's embarrassing.
That's great.
She goes on.
I teach at an Ivy. Oh, that's beautiful.
She's probably like one of these adjunct professors that doesn't really, whatever. I don't know her situation. Being poor sucks. There's things you can do about it. I hate to tell you, Molly, and well, whatever. She goes on to tell us, because she started to get hate, like I said, now her account is now locked, so she started to get a bunch of people saying, no, it is actually like possible to do things about being poor, including not taking on debt that has a $1,300 a month monthly payment that you are not in a position to repay.
Well, right. And yes, and you know it's funny.
Also, by the way, she's not going to have to pay that because all the student loans have like a bajillion income-based repayment options where, I mean, you're like in indentured servitude for life, but they'll lower your payment.
Hey, Joe Biden, I can't afford this is too much. You know what? We also can't afford our loans.
Yeah. At POTUS. Help.
And our loans are for things like a house and stuff, actual things that we've got things.
Right. And you know
what?
Why
are her loans more noble than our loans?
Oh, well, and you know what else is like, okay, like many people, our income suffered during COVID, not for nothing. And you know what we did? Did we sit here going, wow, being poor just happened to us. It's impossible to escape it.
We're historically working class.
I know. We're more than historically working class. I was in freaking Home Depot 4 nights a week doing night shifts, stocking shelves to not be poor. I was working in restaurant kitchens to not be, but I was literally working class 2 years ago. I mean, like, what are we doing here? What did she say? It wasn't historically. It was, she has working class heritage. She has working class heritage. I'm sorry. So, and freaking went out and got other jobs until we could pay our stupid payments on stuff, because that's what you do when you take out loans and stuff happens to your income is you find ways to pay
By the
them.
way, how like reparations movement is that too?
Yeah.
150 years ago, my ancestors before. Now I'm working in the Ivy, but 150 years ago, my
I'm a
ancestors
New York
had it
Times
tough.
best-selling editor. What's a New York Times
yeah,
best-selling
the point
editor,
is,
by the way?
Like, I'm a New York Times best-selling editor, and I work in the Ivy. That's me now, but I'm gonna do a switcheroo and let you know you're really looking at Isabel Windsor Trafalgar in 1850, who's working class, by the way. I come from her. So remember, when you attack me, you're attacking her. And by attacking me, making me pay my loans.
Then she says, all the right-wing trolls think that they can roast me, but what they don't understand is that I'm the eldest daughter of a Southern Republican. Elmau. My guys, my dad hates the government so much he won't even take city water. Trust me when I say I have heard it all before.
You know what that means? It means she hasn't heard it all before, and she is
It
being
means
roasted, and she is being bothered by being roasted.
she's still a child with daddy issues who's mad at her dad and is taking it out on us now for some reason. What's the difference between younger leftists and older Republicans? Well, for one thing, we're your kids, and we've been listening to you for our whole lives. You, on the other hand, have not been listening to us. In my eyes, that's the competitive advantage.
Maybe the fact that you publicly call on the President of the United States to make it so you don't have to pay for the products you've purchased. Incredible.
And then she finally, this is her last one this morning before she locked her account. I grew up in the rural South, so I know that men are out here driving massive trucks, wearing cowboy hats, pulling in six figures, talking about working class values. Give me a break, dude. Just call yourself a white supremacist and move on.
Here we go. There you go.
There you go. I have working class heritage, but I'm a good person, so you should pay my student loans, whereas you can afford a truck, and so you're a bad person, and because you don't vote the same way I do, you must be a white supremacist.
I deserve a life of ease. I'm doing all the right and good things.
So that series of screenshots is going to be my reply to anybody else who tells me that we should pay anybody's student loans.
I'm right there with you. This last bit of breaking news. I just want to play this Catherine Herridge rap right here.
Good evening, Nora. A senior U.S. government official told reporters there is no evidence to date the U.S. military and intelligence agencies have been compromised, but a number of federal agencies have been hit.
Tonight, senior government officials are racing to limit the impact of what one cyber expert is calling potentially the largest theft and extortion event in recent history. American targets include multiple federal agencies, including the Department of Energy, plus Johns Hopkins affiliated hospitals in Maryland and Florida, Georgia's statewide university system, and the Minnesota Department of Education. British Airways was also hit. Officials say the hackers are part of a cyber criminal gang called CLOP, believed to operate from inside Russia.
They've started releasing
Ukraine. There we go. So anyway, just breaking news. I wanted to let people know.
Nice.
All right, Alice, what should we do?
We should head over to the Chelsea Fire Wicked hotline where people leave us messages on the chat. It is, of course, brought to us by Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce.
By the way, new All You Can Eat podcast.
Oh, yes, there is a new All You Can Eat podcast.
That was a lifetime ago. That was this morning?
That was this morning.
Oh, man. Our kids are going to get to say that they came from a working class.
Did they have working class heritage?
Yes. Well, we have working poor. We're the working poor. So money has passed through us and around us, but it does not stay with us.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Just an addendum to your discussion about the Juneteenth on today's episode.
Mm-hmm.
I distinctly remember as far back as the early 2000s, the late, great Tony Snow discussing the Juneteenth. It was either on Fox News Sunday when he was hosting it, or it was when he was part of a panel discussion or something. And actually, it could have been when he was substitute hosting for Rush Limbaugh, now that I think of it. But he was talking about the Juneteenth and, wouldn't it be a potential for another sort of national holiday to recognize the end of slavery and, the impact of the Civil War and that sort of stuff. And I remember at the time I had to go look it up. And, therefore, thereby, when it happened, after George Floyd, I knew exactly what it was. Mm-hmm. But it's been around for a while, and I think it started to be recognized as some sort of an important date as early as the 1940s. but I could be wrong on that. But anyway, thank you.
It's been a thing in Texas,
yes.
certainly.
Yes.
That everybody celebrates because it's the end of slavery in Texas. That's when Texas found out about the Emancipation
Right. It's not
Proclamation.
it's not the date of the Emancipation Proclamation. It's when Texas found out.
Right. Or even there were other states that still had slavery after that too, because the Emancipation Proclamation didn't free slaves in loyal
states.
There
were northern states. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a long story. Let's not get into it. But it's.
But yeah.
Miss Tony Snow, he kind of invented being the press secretary who would just flame the media because he was a Fox guy. He was really good. You probably don't remember him. You're too young. Yeah, he was really good.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Hopefully by Sunday, I will not sound like this, so I apologize for that.
I think people like your post-puke attitude.
My beaten down, destroyed.
Yeah, there's certain airs.
Sense of peace that I have.
Certain airs are gone.
Certain airs are gone. Well, that's good. I hope you like my post-puke attitude, guys. It's what it is. If you want to join us for the live chats, you can do that at patreon.com/burnbarrel. Of course, if you prefer listening for free, I get it. Believe me, you can do that at burnbarrelpodcast.com.
C'est la vie.